Welcome to Mad World TV. In today's episode, we're diving deep into the haunting origins of Halloween, a holiday that may seem like harmless fun, filled with costumes, candy, and parties. But what if I told you that Halloween's roots reach back thousands of years to ancient pagan rituals where the line between the living and the dead was blurred? Join us as we peel back the layers of history to reveal how Halloween began as a celebration of death, spirits, and nature. So grab your pumpkin spice latte, sit back, and let's journey into the pagan past. Our journey begins over 2,000 years ago with the Celts, a group of tribal peoples who lived in what is now Ireland, the UK, and parts of France. The Celts had a different relationship with nature than we do today. To them, the turning of the seasons wasn't just a change in weather, it was a spiritual event. Of all the festivals in their calendar, none was more important than Samhain, a festival marking the end of the harvest and the beginning of the dark winter months. Winter, for the Celts, was the time of death, cold, and hardship. But Samhain wasn't just about preparing for the chill. It was a night when the boundaries between this world and the next became blurred. Samhain was a time when the Celts believed the veil between the world of the living and the dead was at its thinnest, allowing spirits to roam the earth freely. This wasn't just a metaphorical idea, it was deeply ingrained in their worldview. The spirits of deceased loved ones could return to visit their families, while malevolent beings, such as fairies or mischievous creatures, might cross over and cause trouble. This belief in the spirit world was so strong that entire villages would prepare for Samhain weeks in advance. As you can tell, I am deeply passionate about this subject matter, which is probably why my wife left me, or maybe it's the fact that I sound like a creepy weirdo. Anyway, back to talking about Halloween's origins. Samhain was much more than just a night of revelry. It was a night filled with deeply sacred rituals conducted by the Druids, the priestly class of the Celts. Druids played a crucial role in Celtic society. They weren't just priests. They were judges, scholars, and intermediaries between the natural and supernatural worlds. On Samhain, Druids would lead communities in lighting massive bonfires, known as sacred fires. These fires weren't just for warmth. They were believed to hold protective powers, warding off evil spirits. Villagers would gather around these fires, offering crops and animals as sacrifices to Celtic gods and goddesses to ensure protection from the dark forces of the winter. The bonfires also played another role. They symbolized the burning away of the past and the welcoming of new beginnings. After the rituals, the villagers would take embers from the sacred fires back to their homes to relight their hearts, believing that this would bring protection and prosperity in the coming months. But this wasn't the only way the Celts interacted with the spirits. On Samhain, they believed the spirits of their ancestors would return to visit their homes. To honor these spirits, they would leave out offerings of food and drink, hoping to appease the ghosts and ensure their blessings. However, there were also malevolent spirits lurking. While some spirits were welcomed, others were feared. The Celts believed that not all the entities roaming on Samhain were friendly. Some were believed to be malevolent forces, intent on bringing harm, bad luck, or illness. To protect themselves, the Celts devised a clever strategy. They disguised themselves as spirits. By wearing costumes made of animal skins and heads, the Celts believed they could trick these malevolent beings into thinking they were fellow spirits. This early form of masquerading to protect oneself from evil evolved into the Halloween costumes we know today. The tradition of wearing spooky or grotesque costumes has survived the centuries, although the reason behind it may have changed. But how did Samhain, a deeply pagan festival, transform into the Halloween we know today? The answer lies in the rise of Christianity in Europe. As Christianity spread throughout the Celtic regions, it encountered a populace deeply attached to their ancient traditions. The early church recognized that eradicating these customs would be difficult, if not impossible. So, instead of outlawing Samhain, the church sought to absorb it into Christian practice. This strategy was common at the time. In the 9th century, the Church established All Saints' Day, or All Hallows' Day, on November 1st as a way to honor saints and martyrs. The night before, October 31st, became known as All Hallows' Eve, which eventually evolved into Halloween. Despite the Church's efforts, many pagan customs persisted. For example, people continued to believe that on All Hallows' Eve, the souls of the dead walked the earth. While the Church encouraged prayers for the dead, communities continued to light fires and perform rituals to ward off evil spirits. Over time, Christian and pagan elements blended, creating a hybrid festival where the dead were both feared and honored. One of the most iconic symbols of modern Halloween is the jack-o'-lantern, but the tradition behind it is much older than you might think. The Celts used to carve turnips into lanterns, placing candles inside to ward off evil spirits. These turnip lanterns were believed to trap or scare away wandering spirits. When Irish immigrants brought this tradition to America in the 19th century, they discovered that pumpkins, native to North America, were much easier to carve. And so, the tradition of the jack-o'-lantern as we know it was born. The grotesque faces we carve into pumpkins today still carry echoes of the ancient belief that such lanterns can protect us from evil forces. And what about trick-or-treating? Surprisingly, this too has pagan and medieval roots. In the Middle Ages, people would go door to door offering prayers for the dead in exchange for food. This practice, called souling, eventually evolved into what we now know as trick-or-treating. While children today are more interested in candy than prayers, the idea of going door to door on Halloween night stems from the belief that it was a night to honor both the living and the dead. As Halloween evolved in America, it became more about community and fun, rather than fear of spirits. By the 20th century, Halloween had fully transformed into the holiday we know today, filled with costumes, candy, and haunted houses. But even in its modern form, Halloween still retains many of its ancient roots. The tradition of wearing costumes, carving jack-o'-lanterns, and honoring the dead are all remnants of ancient Celtic rituals that have survived for over 2 millennia. Pop culture has also played a massive role in shaping Halloween as we know it. Horror films, haunted houses, and ghost stories have added to the thrill of the holiday, making it a celebration of all things spooky. But even though we might see Halloween as harmless fun today, it's worth remembering that its origins lie in deeply spiritual and sometimes dark traditions. So why does Halloween continue to captivate us? Perhaps it's because deep down we still feel that ancient pull. Halloween allows us to embrace the unknown and the mysterious, to confront our fears of death, and to celebrate the strange and supernatural. It's a night where, for just a moment, we can step into the shadows and remember that we are connected to something much older, much deeper. Thanks for joining us on this journey through time and tradition. If you enjoyed this exploration into the ancient roots of Halloween, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more mysterious and intriguing content from Mad World TV. Remember, Halloween isn't just a time for candy and costumes. It's a night where the past meets the present, and where the spirits of the dead may be closer than we think. Boo, I scared you.